All right, everyone. I am so excited to bring this educational series to you. A friend of mine did a talk and she was speaking on this amazing peptide. I came into it a little bit late, so my recording is a few minutes late, but the amount of energy, well, that too, but the amount of information you're going to get from her talk is really going to blow your mind. It's going to open it up to so many things. Because here's the thing, I have so many patients and friends that, they're complaining about how just exhausted they feel. We blame it on the weather, we blame it on our hormones, we blame it on our age or stress or, whatever is kind of makes sense to blame it on. But the truth of the matter is that so many people are exhausted. They're feeling like they're aging faster than they'd like, that they should. And honestly, it's not even metabolically out of balance. It's not necessarily your hormones and definitely not necessarily your age. So we know due to so much research that has been done on the mitochondria and cell health and this particular peptide that we're going to talk about, that it actually could be that your cells are just frankly running out of energy. Now, I don't know if you've heard that before, but yes, that is something that has probably been more on the front of science and health in the last couple of years is mitochondrial health, right? So researchers have been studying this powerful 16 strand amino acids. It's small by comparison to many of the peptides that are available therapeutically, but this peptide is called MOTS-C. And it is the peptide that is showing to actually restore cellular energy and give us back that metabolic resistance that we so desire. So here we go. We're going to get started on this. I'm going to play it. Like I said, you're going to come into this at a point where she's already been in conversation. So I apologize for that, but it's so good. All of it's so good. All right, ready? Here we go.
To feel that burst of energy. But it's also working with your metabolic system. So if you have a sluggish metabolic system, maybe some of your clients, maybe yourself, maybe you're dealing with hypothyroid. I know for me, that was one of my issues. I had hypothyroid and I would feel myself kind of go through the 3 or 4 o'clock lull in the day. And by taking MOTS-C, and I've been taking it for about 5 or 6 months, you guys, and it's really helped me. And like I said, I'm not here to diagnose anyone, but I can share my story, and I'll share a little bit more of it later. On how it really has helped me to really balance out any kind of metabolic issues that I might be feeling or might be experiencing. Um, Metabolic flexibility means your cells can switch between fuel sources. So when your glucose is available, it will use that. And when your fat is needed, it can use that. And that's really awesome. It's something that is unique about MOTS-C, to be able to have that energy uptick all from the mitochondria, from the cell, from the nucleus, from the AMPK and the ATP, which is, like I said, our body's energy source. So when you're feeling a little bit of metabolic resistance, when it drops, you will see a little bit more of an inflammatory response, right? Like how many people have, you could notice when you start to have that inflammation in your body and your energy gets low. So by using MOTS-C, that can help stabilize that. That can help even that out so you're not feeling that resistance. You're not getting that inflammatory response, and helps with your, to keep your metabolic system more rigid, and you're going to have a little slower recovery. So it helps you to regulate. And I think that's really important too. When we're looking at something that we want to have regulation, we want to have something that's going to help us, that's going to give us energy, that's going to help reduce and decrease inflammatory markers.
After it started.
That's going to help give us more clarity, have better brain function, less brain fog. I mean, these are all important. And this really is what gives us so much energy. And it's been so wonderful that we've been able to experience that. And now that we have MOTS-C, a lot of you will be able to experience that as well. This is something new. Science is always changing and they're always trying to find, we learn new things. And I was doing a little reading and a little research on, the mitochondrial function of aging. And, when our cells are not communicating properly, so we're not having cellular recovery, we're not having proper cellular turnover, right, our body can become weaker to the communication repair. So our bodies are all communicating with our organs, our cells are communicating with our, our brain, and making sure that we're getting all that proper hydration throughout our system. So when the mitochondria is lower or weaker, it causes a breakdown. So what they're finding is by increasing your AMPK activation and your oxidation pathways, that it is helping with that signaling that's increasing longevity, which I thought was really, really cool. And that's something that MOTS-C is they're finding through studies is offering. So more energy production and more cellular turnover, more oxidative balance, and more metabolic signaling is also that they found that these studies that what MOTS-C is offering, and they're linking that to longevity. They're linking that to healthy aging. They're linking that to healthy skin cells. They're linking that to a healthy, happy brain that is functioning. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of that with this peptide. I think that the more they continue to study how the oxidation is actually helping our body to have that turnover, we're going to see more and more studies coming out about longevity, cellular recovery, cellular repair, and ATP energy, and how that is really just creating such a beautiful synthesis inside of our bodies that we're going to be able to utilize, and the value is really great. I don't know if you guys have heard the term. I hear it a lot. I hear it a lot on Instagram. The bro science, like, oh, MOTS-C, it's exercise in a bottle. I laugh because I'm like, okay. I mean, some people are like, I think I'll just take my shot of, MOTS-C. I don't have to work out today. I got MOTS-C going on. But kind of, sort of. I mean, yes, but no, but yes. Because it does suggest, research has suggested that it does help with inducing the adaptations inside of the muscle. So when you're breaking down the muscle, helps to influence that mitochondrial signaling. Again, going back to that cellular recovery, cellular repair, hydration to the muscle, more blood flow in and around the muscle, that uptick of energy. It's just a beautiful, to me, it's like a symphony. Improving that energy pathway and supporting recovery. That's really what we do when we exercise, right? So when we have that mitochondria signaling, you have just better output of more units of fuel per cell. So that's why they say, well, it's kind of like exercising, just taking a shot, you're exercising a bottle. But the ATP also gives stable energy, better recovery post-workouts, better sleep, and improving metabolic flexibility. And again, going back to the metabolic system, going back into metabolic fatigue, metabolic repair, having that flexibility so that it can kind of move with you. Kind of think of it like a rubber band, that flexibility, that bend of what you want your metabolism to be able to do to give you what you need at the time that you need it. Athletes sometimes will talk about performance, but if you're not an athlete, adults just need resilience. They need something that they know that is going to move with them throughout the day and not cause that crash. And, that's where a lot of people, I think, get tripped up when it comes to, how do I know if my metabolic system is working right? How do I know that my energy source is going to carry me throughout the day? So with MOTS-C, we have some really great options here to work in our mitochondria, to work with our energy, to work with our AMPK pathways, to work with our body, and give us that really wonderful balance. So that is, let me see if I don't mess it up, because I don't want to mess up let me stop share. So that is kind of where we're at with MOTS-C. And I can tell you guys for myself, I always worry about saying too much and not diagnosing. I don't want to diagnose anyone. And you guys don't need to diagnose. You shouldn't be diagnosing anyone. You shouldn't be saying anything that is going to allow a person to think, well, Sandy said that if I take this, that I'm going to be feeling like this. But what you can share is here, and this is how I always like to do it, is feel, felt, found. This is how I felt. Or when someone's talking to you, you'd be like, I felt that way. This is how I felt. This is what I feel now. And this is what I found. Because it's really important to share with them. You can share with them your own experience. We talk about being a product of the product, and how important that is, that you can share your own experiences. It's like the GLP, right? You start your GLP and you start to have these amazing results. You start to feel differently. And it's when you start to feel different and you start to feel really good that you want to share that. And that's how it's going to be for you when you start your MOTS-C. You're going to start to feel different and acknowledge those feelings and write them down. You're going to start to have more energy. You're going to start to have more clarity. I have always, when I started MOTS-C, I was already doing Tessa and Ipamorelin, and I was having such great results with Tessa and Ipamorelin. I was starting to get leaner. I started to lose some of that visceral fat that was like in and around my bra strap and around my, like right where your jeans are and you're coupling your jeans, started to decrease. But when I started MOTS-C with my Tessa and my IPA, it was my brain function. I was like, oh my gosh. I literally felt like the lights just turned on and I had such great energy. I got through my workouts, no problem. Exercise my bottle. I felt like I had such better clarity. I felt like I was sleeping better. I didn't feel that inflammation at the end of the day that is caused sometimes from, just stress and oxidative stress and cortisol stress. I did feel that I didn't have that crash, that 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock burnout. I was no longer experiencing that. So while I was getting such great results with the Tessa and the IPA and really having the muscles and and seeing the improvement in my visceral fat and really started to see my muscles started to form. When I put MOTS-C on board, oh my goodness gracious. It was like the Energizer Bunny who could. And when Honey told me we were bringing it, I was like, because I knew what it was going to be like for you guys too. And I knew it was probably something that, we were going to start hearing about it's one of those things when something really cool comes out, everyone starts to talk about it, right? And you're probably going to go to your Instagram, to your Facebook, and you're see all this stuff for MOTS-C because our cameras and our speakers are all on. So now Big Brother knows that we were talking about MOTS-C. So be prepared. You're going to see all the things on MOTS-C. But we have it, and it's exciting. So we're excited to talk about it.
Yeah, Rachel, everything that you just mentioned is exactly how I felt when I started MOTS-C. And initially, I was like, is it my hormones? What's different? Like, this feels different. A lot of times you take these peptides, you don't know if it's working or not, right? Because it takes time and it's systemic and so forth. But this one was one of those that I felt immediately. And today, the day that I didn't take it, I feel the difference. Like, just like you said, that insulin crash, that my energy is stable throughout the day. I feel like I'm on fire with my energy, with my creativity. It's been a game changer. This one's one of those, like, I will vouch for. So Tessa IPA is one big one that I absolutely love. Like, you see the gains. And this is, and I combine this with methylene blue. And on that note, I actually want to talk about that because a lot of these peptides are mitochondrial peptides, NAD. They work in similar pathways. And I've seen a couple questions come in. What's the difference between NAD, methylene blue, this one? Like, which one should I take? They all work differently, but they also have very similar functions. Maybe you could touch on that a little bit of how they're the same and different.
Yeah, so NAD is actually a coenzyme. It's not necessarily a peptide. It's not a peptide at all. NAD works on cellular recovery, tissue repair, tissue recovery, and yes, it does work on your ATP, your body's natural energy source. But what's really different about NAD is that if you don't have, like, some people have a complete opposite effect with NAD. Where you're not getting an energy, you're actually getting a crash at the end of the day. You're feeling tired on NAD. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I don't want people like, oh, well, that's bad. No, it goes after where your body is needing the most. And a lot of, because it was happened to me. I took NAD, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then for like a week or two, I would take it and I was like, why am I feeling so tired? What I didn't realize is that my body was fighting the flu. And so rather than giving me this uptick of energy, my body, and I was taking the NAD, was slowing me down a little bit because my body was going through a recovery and a repair. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that that was a bad thing if you feel that the opposite effect of NAD. But NAD, like I said, it works different. It's a coenzyme. So a coenzyme works differently and metabolizes differently in the body, and it works differently because it has a different pathway. Whereas something like MOTS-C is strictly mitochondrial, works with the cellular, works with energy, works with your metabolic system specifically. Whereas NAD is a coenzyme and it works kind of with more of your ATP and overall cellular tissue repair and recovery.
I love that answer. Now, talk to us. There's a lot of hype on social media right now, and there's a lot of people, and I've heard this many, many times, that combining MOTS-C with a GLP-1 GIP gives you the same effects as peptide. I'm not to mention it, but
yeah,
how true is that? Is that a myth, or is that?
No, it's true. So the unmentionable, that third component, it really is it's a metabolic component. So this is kind of the counterpart to that metabolic component that it offers, but in a different way, in a different pathway, a little more natural pathway, that you can still get that same, it's the same but different, okay? I mean, I'm not going to say it's the exact same, but it's the same, but it's going to give you that metabolic boost to your trizepatide, to your semaglutide. It's going to give that metabolic boost to your cells through your mitochondria. Here's something that you already have within your system. You're just giving it a little boost, and so that's where we're hearing, well, it's the same thing if you do it, if you take them together. I have found that with a few of my clients who have had a little bit of burnout, they plateaued on the GLP. I can use my brother as an example. I told him today I was going to use him as an example. He was taking trizepatide for so long, and he had lost a really good amount of weight on trizepatide. And he called me last night at 11:58. So technically he called me this morning. He's like, hey, I just got an email from LEMD, something about MOTS-C. Can you get it for me? Is it going to work for me? Is that the stuff that you gave me? So yes, he is a perfect prime example of someone who kind of stalled out at a 65, 70 pound weight loss, and that was slowing down with his trizepatide. Rather than increasing your trizepatide and increasing that dosage, let's give you 60 units of MOTS-C 3 times a week, and you're going to see a massive shift in your metabolic system. So yes, that is where, if you have clients or yourself, you're starting to kind of at that rate of this is my base now. I've been on trizepatide for a while. This is my base now, and you want to take it up a notch. MOTS-C is going to be your best friend.
I was going to ask, I mean, you went over this, but who is this best for? And maybe you could also, let's just answer that question.
Yeah, who's this best for? I think it's great for everyone. I think it's great for those who maybe would like to exercise a little bit more, don't have the energy to exercise. Maybe you're feeling a little tired. Maybe you just don't have the time, because it is going to give you that metabolic burst, and it is going to help with weight loss. Does it help the same way as as testosterone would with the visceral fat? Not necessarily. No, it's not the same pathway. Is it going to be the same as a GLP or a GIP? No, not the same pathway. This is metabolic. So you're looking for something specifically to work with your metabolic system, with your cell and your mitochondria and your AMPK. This is how that works. So it would be good for anyone. It would not be good for someone if they're breastfeeding, trying to get pregnant. If you have active cancer cells, I would say maybe talk to your doctor. Any time you have anything post-cancer or pre-cancer, talk to your doctor first. But I would say anyone else or any kind of a heart condition, those are things that you'd want to go through the medical evaluation through Ellie and make sure you check those boxes and put your concerns inside there so that your doctor can have a conversation with you if they think that it might be something that you might want to hold off on, or maybe just take a different dose. You might be dosing it maybe a little bit less or a little more. Again, going to the doctor, like that's a great question for your doctor to have. But as far as metabolically, I think it's it can be for anyone, for the bodybuilder who wants to do a cut, for the for the average person who wants to take their GLP up a little notch and lose another 5 or 10 pounds, to someone who just wants to have a metabolic base that is increased, better energy, and better cognitive function. MOTS-C is going to be able to do that for you, getting MOTS-C on board.
So, Rachel, you've been doing this now for some time, and maybe for someone who has never tried this peptide before, what is something they could expect immediately after use? A day, a week, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, long term? Maybe you could share a little bit of your experience.
Me personally, and those that I have worked with, have experienced an immediate change in their energy. And we're talking within a 40 to 24-hour period, they're noticing that boost in energy. Don't take it at night. Take it in the morning. I would recommend. And like anything, any peptide, just to let you know, any peptide that is you're first starting to take it, first time you take it, I always say take it in the morning, even if it is one that you would normally take in the evening. My first dose, your first dose, I always say take it early enough so that you can see if you have any side effects. You don't want to take it at night and then be up with side effects if you have any. And most of the time we won't. But listen, biology, we're all different. Like I can't say what works for me is going to be the exact same way that is going to work for Honey. Like we're all so different. We have to respect that our biology is different. Our lifestyles are different. Everything about us is different. However, I think within the most of the time from it, it's a general way to go. You're going to feel something within the first day or two. By the first week in, you're going to feel like a completely different person. I mean, I feel for myself, I have so much energy. I'm so much happier. That's what I get from my kids who are 22. They're like, Mom, you're so much happier. I'm like, I feel great. I feel so happy. And I really do. And I attest it to MOTS-C.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, I saw someone say that, did she say it was good for breastfeeding? I would not recommend it if you're
No, pregnant breastfeeding, no. Trying to get pregnant, this is not something that we would recommend for anyone or anyone under the age of 18, or it's primarily for adults. But now, talk to us about what you recommend typically as far as the stack goes. What would pair well with this, and how would you alternate? If you are on NAD or methylene blue, how would you either pair it or alternate this therapy?
Well, I did talk about already the trizepatide. It's a perfect marriage if you're like looking to, up your gains and your weight loss. I loved it for myself with Tessa and ipamorelin. I think again, for someone who isn't looking to lose a lot of weight but looking to really capitalize on muscle gains and building my little glute. Like I'm trying to, not let gravity take me down. And I've been partnering Tessa Ipa with MOTS-C for you men out there. Hello, Tessa Ipa, MOTS-C. So good. So good. Also 2-methylene blue. The two mitochondrial. They're going to be working together. They are different signaling pathways and they're supporting each other. So you can take those two together as well as glutathione. You guys, glutathione is it doesn't get enough respect, I think, because glutathione helps to detoxify your liver, detoxifying that liver, because that's where all the flush out all those toxins, helps to keep your immune system strong. I think that would be a great pairing with glutathione as well. So any one of those, my stack, oh my gosh, you guys, I love GHKCU. I can tell you, my stack, GHKCU, ipamorelin, tesamorelin, ipamorelin, GHKCU, and MOTS-C, and glutathione. Like those for me are like my little happy places. Like I look forward to when I get to take my injections on those. If you guys haven't tried GHKCU, again, it's another anti-inflammatory, helps with your skin, your cellular repair, cellular recovery, helps with, any kind of, small fine lines, and wrinkle. I mean, it's anti-aging and it's a beautiful peptide.
Yeah, and I keep seeing a lot of messages in the chat about dosing, the protocol, and how to, I guess,
How to dose. We have 60 units 3 times a week, I think is what the dosing is. I think that's a good dose. I think that's I don't know that they figure out the dosing protocols, but that's pretty much what I was doing as well before we had our MOTS-C come out. 60 units 3 times a week.
I saw someone write, do you have to be on this forever? So maybe you could talk about the cycling of this. Right.
I think, in honesty, I don't know what is recommended for cycling, but I will tell you from the GHKCU, because the way that it works, I never have cycled with it. And I know now we do 5 days a week, and I always did 5 days a week with GHKCU. And just because I felt like I was getting the best with that. I think you're going to get it and you're going to find what works best for you. Some people might be sensitive and maybe 60 units 3 times a week is too much for them. And then you might want to pull it back to maybe 60 units once a week and then 30 units 2 other times throughout the week. Maybe 60 units is a perfect sweet spot for you. And you can end up cycling it. Maybe instead of doing it 3 times a week, you can do it once a week after a 12-week period. You do it maybe just once a week instead of going 3 times a week. I think with anything that comes with peptides, you have to kind of see how your body is adjusting to it and how you feel, because we are we're individual, and how we metabolize things and how our biology works is different. So I mean, I think that's a fair way of going about it. And I mean, all of you guys, like I said, we're all different ages. We're all in different places in our life. We all have different hormones that are going through our body and different, some of us had surgery, some of us haven't, some of us have kids, some don't. So it really just depends. It really depends on you.
I see Barbara wrote, former figure and bikini competitor. I'm so excited to share this with my community. Stephanie wrote, I've been using MOTS-C in my practice for a while. I love it, and I'm thrilled that it's available here. I know as far as cycling goes, by the way, our recommendation, our protocol is 8 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and just to give your body that rest and recovery. I mean,
so it's 8 weeks and then 2 weeks. Is that what?
Yeah, that's not what. Yeah, protocol here. I'm going through the questions, so if you have them and I'm missing it, please just put it below. I'm trying to get through it. If you're sensitive to caffeine, would this be a good peptide? Is it similar to a reaction on your body? No. Right?
No. I'm thinking it's internal. It's cellular. You already have. First of all, you already have this in your body. You already have MOTS-C. It's mitochondrial. You're just giving a little bit of a. You're just giving a little bit of a. Hey, hello.
I'm getting a lot about NAD. Like, would it be overloading the body to use this in conjunction with NAD? Again, totally different, but maybe just touch on that one more time, because I think a lot of people are excited about this, but they're already using NAD. And
yeah, NAD is, like I said, it's a coenzyme, so it works differently in your body. It's working strategically with your ATP, which is your body's energy, your cellular recovery, cellular repair. So it works differently than something where you're looking at your mitochondria and you're focusing on the nucleus. I can even remember, it's part of the DNA working directly with the AMPK pathway, but they do work different. And if you are wanting to try to cycle in and see how it works with your NAD and your NAD, you want to see, well, maybe don't do 3 times a week. Maybe try just bringing MOTS-C on once a week and seeing how that goes. And do it on different days that you cycle your NAD. So if your NAD is like twice a week or 3 times a week, do it on the day that you are off of your NAD and take your MOTS-C then.
I love it. I saw someone write, will there ever be a day, an option, so that you don't have to take so many different peptides and you can just combine them in a vial? Well, that's the future. That's where we're going. So stay tuned, hopefully one day. But do you recommend starting at the dose or starting lower and slower to wean up to that?
Again, I think it's a personal, but I think if after you go through your medical intake and they take all your medical information and you list any concerns that you might have, If the doctor is prescribing it to you at the dose that he gives, then I would stick to that. And because you can always adjust however you want. If you try the dose that you think it's a little bit too much for you, you can always pare down. It's not going to hurt you, is what I'm trying to say.
This might be a little technical, but it said if you're T4, sorry, I lost that question. Oh,
Talking about your thyroid.
Yeah. If your TSH is reading low, but T4 good, hyperthyroidism, can you take this?
I can't speak to your particular case. As I said, I'm not a doctor, but I can share with you for myself. I have hypothyroidism, so and a very similar. Again, all of our numbers are different. That would be a fantastic question to ask your doctor, or you can set up a little one-on-one with one of our doctors and ask them there too. That might be a good question. You go to your doctor, he might tell you don't take peptide. By the way,
Lauren, put in the chat, please, the micrograms of the 60 units. I think it's 1,200, but
yeah,
she's on mute. Okay, you did. Just put it in again because we're getting a lot of questions. But what do you say? Just take the question, go, and
Okay, so we are all done with that. I just kind of want to sum this up for you all. Let me just get this all set back up. So, I just want you to know that, as we continue learning about cellular energy and, um, sorry, I'm just getting this, and so cellular energy and mitochondrial health, peptides like MOTS-C are becoming just an exciting part of really the future. Just take my screen off here so you all can see me. Lift this up. Okay, there we are. All right. So, as the future is really in peptides. So if you're kind of nervous about peptides or you've heard about them, but you're like, oh, injecting, or all you think about when you hear peptides is, Ozempic or, one of the weight loss ones, there is so much more in therapeutic peptides than just those. So if you are interested in learning more about MOTS-C or any of the other peptides designed to support, energy, metabolism, healthy weight, healthy aging, please connect with one of our team members who shared this video with you. They can help guide you to the next step and give you some additional resources. We have a website that has so many amazing like research and frequently asked questions that you have to create an account though, because it is a liability issue when we're working with a compounding prescribing platform. There are medical doctors that will prescribe the medication for you based on your needs. So you'll want to make sure you create an account. You'll use a email and create a password, and then you'll have access to everything. It's free. You can poke around. You don't have to buy anything. You can learn, and then reach out to the person who did share this because they thought enough about you to actually think about you to send this to you. So anyway, I hope you learned a lot from this. I hope that you accept that peptides aren't going away. As a matter of fact, RFK just took 14 of the 19 really popular peptides from the class 2, which was they were legally put in that class back a few presidencies ago, administrations. They put it on kind of like, I don't know, what were they trying to do? Keep us from, having access to these maybe, and only allowing big pharma to have access to these peptides. So this is an incredible time in healthcare. And, supplements are great. They help support certain, aspects of the body. I'll never discount the importance of certain supplements, but we are over supplementing and we're still super unhealthy. So this is really a game changer when it comes to overall health and longevity. So I hope you enjoyed this talk and catch you on the next one.